Armex Blast Media, the industry's leading baking soda-based abrasive technology when non-destructive cleaning is critical. Learn more about our 12 different formulations for wet and dry blasting at armex.com.
So, Julie, obviously you've been in this industry a while, and you've moved up through the ranks. But I would still love to know, some background and kind of hear it straight from you as to kind of how you got into the industry. What those early influences were for you in terms of getting into racing.
Yeah, I grew up a race fan. I grew up in Wisconsin, lots of short tracks, and I was part of a family of race fans. My dad was a big Dale Earnhardt fan, turned Jeff Gordon fan. So we watched races, and I just really enjoyed it. It was something that was fun to do on Sundays, just watching the races. And as I went to college, I grew up on a dairy farm, so I was thinking I would join the agriculture world because that was what I knew, obviously. And about halfway through my college career, I had spent a couple summers doing internships at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the animal science and genetics. And I just realized at that time that just wasn't for me and wanted something a little bit different. So started exploring marketing and really at that point, that's when I was thinking, okay, it'd be really fun to spend some time and work in racing. How hard could it be, right? Like that was something I wanted to do. So when I graduated college, I actually sent my resume to all the racetracks with the hopes of getting a job at one of them. I got a lot of rejection letters at the time, and I still have them, believe it or not. One from Phoenix Raceway, which is quite entertaining, but yeah, so I just spent a lot of time networking and really wanted to make sure everybody knew that that was something that was important to me. I didn't lose hope on getting my foot in the door. And I had a coworker at the agency I was working at in Minneapolis who had a friend that was working at Watkins Glen International in upstate New York. And she got a call from him one day out of the blue. They were hiring a PR manager, and he called her to see if she knew of anyone, and she knew I loved racing. And so she mentioned it to me, and the rest is history. I moved to upstate New York in January of 2001. It's crazy how long it's been, but it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, that's awesome. Julie, you mentioned that you applied to a bunch of different tracks. Can you give me kind of a rough number of how many you think that was?
Oh, it was every one of them that I could find an address for.
and so it didn't matter what type of track it was.
No, it was like for sure all the NASCAR tracks that were on the circuit. I'm sure there were probably even some open wheel tracks. And really, I wanted to get my foot in the door. So I sent that resume to every single track that I could find an address for, whether they had an opening or not, just trying to be proactive. And again, like I said, I got a lot of rejection letters back. And I don't know why to this day I saved them. Honestly, the race fan in me thinks that I thought it was cool that I got a letter from a racetrack with a logo on it. So yeah. I'm really glad I did, though. I found them as I moved from Watkins Glen to Daytona in 2004. And it was a pretty surreal moment at that time, looking at them and seeing how far I had come.
Yeah, no, I would imagine it's been some good motivation for continuing your progression in your career and seeing how far you've come. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I've used them as I've talked to kids and students, just to show, like, I've had just, don't give up on your dreams. If this is what you want to do, persevere and it'll work out. Yeah.
Now you mentioned Watkins Glen gave you that chance, and I'm from upstate New York, the Rochester area. So I know the Finger Lakes, and actually my wife and I were just at Watkins Glen earlier in the summer and got to drive the track. They let you out there on certain days with your regular car, which is always fun. So
it is, especially. That's a beautiful part of the country in the summertime.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you spent a few years there and then you moved on to Daytona. So can you just kind of walk me through that progression from Watkins Glen and, getting to Phoenix Raceway where you're at now?
Absolutely. So I joined Watkins Glen in January of 2001, and it was an entry-level position on the communications team, and really took the opportunity to learn as much as I could. Watkins Glen is at the time, especially a very small team. with a really busy schedule. So you had a huge opportunity to learn so many different types of motorsports events. It wasn't just about a NASCAR race. There was sports car racing and historic sports car racing and so many different things. So that was a huge opportunity for me to really immerse myself in the world of motorsports. And in 2004, I was given the opportunity to move to our sister track, Daytona International Speedway, and made that move and left the winters behind and really joined the communications team again, the marketing team. I spent 12 years at Daytona. I joined as the director of communications, overseeing consumer marketing. And when I left in 2016, I was the vice president of marketing. Really, at that point, we had built a marketing team really from scratch. We grew from a couple individuals to about 14 and overseeing everything from digital, social, all of our advertising, our branding, all the event experience, as well as communications, credentials, archives. So it was a really great opportunity for me to just continue to learn. And during that time, we underwent a $400 million reimagination of Daytona International Speedway. And during that, I had another opportunity to immerse myself on the construction side of our business a little bit. I worked really closely with our internal design and development team to make a lot of decisions about whether it's the design or different layouts of rooms. I kind of became a project manager for the design team, being that liaison between all the individuals at the track and our design team. So when we opened Daytona in 2016, our internal design and construction team came to me and asked if I would join their team and do a similar role that I did with Daytona for the project that they were getting ready to kick off at Phoenix Raceway, which is a $178 million renovation. So I left the marketing team at Daytona and joined the construction team, which was a very big departure and a big learning opportunity for me. And I'll say it's probably the 2 years that most prepared me for my current role at Phoenix Raceway as track president. When I left Daytona, if you asked me, and the answer was no, I don't want to be a track president. I was content doing the behind the scenes work, and I like to roll up my sleeves and get involved. And those 2 years working on the design and with the design and construction team, specifically on the Phoenix project, really helped me see how other track leaders manage their teams, lead their teams, and understand that there is no like one size fits all. You can really make it your own. And so I worked out here on the project in Phoenix, and right towards the end of that project, there was a leadership change, and had the opportunity to throw my hat in the ring. And here I am. So now I am the president of Phoenix Raceway. Hard to believe it's been almost 3 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, congrats for getting that position and, having the hard work over the years to get there. You actually stole the question from me. I was going to ask if you ever thought that you'd be the president of a raceway, and
Yeah.
sounds like you didn't. But now that you're there, are you glad that you threw your hat in the ring? And has it been a role you've been enjoying?
Yeah, honestly, it was funny because our HR director and I laugh about it now, because her and I have had a lot of conversations about it, and the answer was always a resounding no for me. I don't want to be a track president. I like being behind the scenes, so now I am really glad I threw my hat in the ring. I threw my hat in the ring, honestly, 3 years ago with the intent of learning the process and understanding what that looks like to interview for the position of a track president, really just to, again, learn and grow, so that if and when another opportunity presented itself and everyone felt like I was ready, I knew what to expect through the interview process. So it was a pleasant surprise when they called and told me I was going to be named the track president. And I am really glad I took it. It's been a great learning experience. The market out here is phenomenal. We've got a really great team of people, and there's a lot of momentum out here at Phoenix Raceway. So it's fun. Every day is different.
Yeah. And Julie, along those lines, if you could, can you walk me through what, I'll say a normal day looks like? I'm sure every day is not the same, but what are some of those responsibilities that a track president has?
First and foremost, it's really leading a team of incredibly talented individuals. So right now we're really focused on planning for NASCAR Championship Weekend. And a big part of my role is just helping to guide the ship, but also working really closely with all of our community members. And that's the team from the city of Avondale, which is a tremendous partner for us, to all the other local municipalities around Phoenix Raceway, the state of Arizona, working hand in hand with all the different groups that have to come together in order to put on this massive event. That we're a small group of 36 employees that hosts one of NASCAR's largest events and most important events. So it takes everybody in our state to really come together. And so my role is connecting people and being an ambassador, being that cheerleader when you need to be, being the taskmaster when you have to be. And I enjoy it. It's again, every day is so different. Every day you're doing something new, you're learning something new, you're meeting somebody new. This community that we're in is incredibly welcoming and very excited about a NASCAR Championship Weekend. And so I feel like every day I get a call from somebody locally that's like, hey, we'd like to help. What can we do? Where can we get involved? That's so fun when you get those phone calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you purchase SBI valve train components, that blue and yellow box represents 40 years of industry knowledge, R&D, quality that exceeds OEM standards, and outstanding customer service, as well as a dedicated team, ready to help no matter your application needs. That's how SBI keeps engines humming.
Julie, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned NASCAR is obviously a big part of, the involvement there at Phoenix, and what you guys do. But outside of that, what are some of the other, sanctioning bodies and racing events that Phoenix Raceway, helps host?
When we renovated the facility 3 years ago, the entire vision of the property was to create this entertainment destination, not just a motorsports destination. We are a first-class facility that is, in my opinion, the most beautiful and picturesque on the circuit, based right at the Estrella Mountains. So for us, we have those 2 NASCAR races each year, but it's about doing more than that. We've got a lot of rental events that occur throughout the year. We have NASCAR racing experience. So if fans want to take their turn on the racetrack, they have that ability. We do a lot of private rentals. We have, believe it or not, we have some wedding receptions scheduled. We have announced an off-road expo that will be running here in September. And we just hosted the city of Avondale's 4th of July fireworks extravaganza. So we're really working hard to reinvent what we do. We don't want to just be a racetrack. That is first and foremost always going to be what Phoenix Raceway is about. But when people think about Phoenix Raceway, we want them to think about more than just a racetrack. We want them to think about that's a really great place to go to. It's a venue that caters to the fans, no matter what type of event that you're attending.
Right. No, absolutely. That's great that you guys are able to broaden the scope of, what the track can be and offer. Julie, I wanted to ask, you've had this background in a number of different positions and gotten to see kind of how the behind the scenes stuff works, as well as kind of be in the face of a track. But what are some of your biggest challenges right now as president, or, just with the raceway itself? What's kind of top of mind for you?
I think for us is, we're still navigating through a pandemic, and we're working through what that means. Everybody we have a commitment to safety, and everyone has their own comfort level with coming to the event. So we want to make sure that everyone knows that when they do come to Phoenix Raceway, that it is a safe experience. And so I think that's one thing for us that we're continually focused on. But then again, I think it's really just continuing to navigate this landscape and this market. There's a lot going on, which is what makes it so much fun. And making sure that we continue to stay relevant and are continually pushing ourselves forward with new events, ways to stay top of mind with our community members, the city of Phoenix, the state of Arizona. So that's something that we work really hard on day in and day out, that when you are thinking about venues and major league sports in the state of Arizona, that Phoenix Raceway and NASCAR are a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. You certainly have your hands full.
Yeah, it's fun though. I mean, again, it's such a great market to be in. There's so much excitement and energy, and again, it's by far the most welcoming market I've ever been to. They like everybody wants to help, and that makes it fun. Like you can be so creative and ask like just the most crazy, or come up with crazy ideas, and everyone's like, okay, let's figure out how to do it.
Yeah, that's great. Julie, a question I'm sure you've answered a number of times or have been asked, but something that I feel is kind of a necessary question, especially being in the position that you've made it to. What has it been like being a female in a male-dominated industry? I'm sure you've faced some additional adversity, since day one at Watkins Glen to where you are now. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of how you handle those situations?
I'm really proud of the fact that I am one of 2 track presidents that are female right now, joined by Jill Gregory at Sonoma Raceway. And I think we continue in our sport to move this forward. I'm proud to be a role model and help people understand that if they work hard, that these types of roles are achievable. And for me, I grew up in this sport. I say that I joined shortly out of college and really worked my way through really all aspects of our business. And so as I did that, honestly, I didn't feel like I was meeting any sort of barriers or being held back because I was female. I think I worked really hard to have a brand that people knew I work hard and I'm going to get stuff done, and that they can rely on me to do that. And that's really helped me along the way. I'm sure there were times where maybe things did occur that honestly, I didn't chalk it up to that. It was more, okay, I've got to work harder, or I've got to prove myself, more just personally than anything else. When I moved into the construction world for a couple of years, that was definitely a big shift for me. Also from an education perspective, because I was going in as a marketing person. I could read blueprint, like some drawings to be dangerous, but I can't hang with the architects. They were really patient with me, helping me learn. And I was probably most cognizant of it there. But again, my whole philosophy through it was I want to work hard and show that I can do this, and that gains respect immediately.
Yeah, no, that's great. And no, it's awesome you've been able to persevere and moved up the ranks to where you're at. Julie, what are some pieces of advice you might give other women who are just entering the industry or looking to move up in the industry? Again, going back to what you said, you never really had this goal of being a president, but you kept working hard, you kept trying new things, and those opportunities came. So what would you say to other women who are looking to grow in the industry?
I think there's 2 things, and this is something that I talk to a lot of my peers and other women in our industry about is first and foremost, like if you have a passion or a dream, like don't give up on it. Put your head down and show people what you can do, and continue to put your best foot forward. I truly believe that in our industry that is recognized, whether you're male or female. People that work hard and get the job done is important. I think the other piece that is probably even more important, in my opinion, and it's something I had to learn and train myself to do, and that's raise your hand. No one's going to raise your hand for you. If you want something, you need to raise your hand and you need to advocate for yourself. And I think that's been probably the hardest thing for me to do, because I am more introverted. I'm not somebody who needs the constant accolades or anything like that. But if I wanted this role, there's no way, like people weren't coming to me saying, hey, do you want to be the president of Phoenix Raceway? I needed to raise my hand and let people know that this was of interest to me. And from there, push through the process. So no one's going to raise your hand for you. You've got to raise your hand for yourself.
Yeah, no, that's excellent advice and certainly very true.
Yeah.
Julie, I got a couple more questions for you, and it's a little bit, just forward thinking. you mentioned you have a lot going on and certain challenges at the track, but what are some things that excite you about the future of what you guys are going to be doing at Phoenix Raceway?
I think what excites me most is just where NASCAR is, and what we've accomplished, especially over the last year and a half. When you look at how our industry responded during the pandemic, being the first first major sport back to racing, first sport to bring the fans back. Ratings were really good. We did, I think, what we did in the social injustice world was tremendous. You look forward and there's just so many things that this company is doing that makes me really proud to be part of it. I mean, to me, that's opened doors here in Phoenix. Conversations about Pitbull being an owner has piqued interest of people in Phoenix. Michael Jordan coming on board. Those are things that have sparked phone calls to me from people that I haven't met, that have never been to a NASCAR race before, that want to get involved, want to learn more. Can you tell me about this? And it's been a fun conversation to have, and just makes me proud to be part of this industry.
No, those are all great points, and certainly kudos to NASCAR in the last year or two for taking a stand against some really big issues and things that are going to move the sport forward. So that's well said. And Julie, again, just bigger picture than just the racetrack itself, racing in general, what are some things that might be on the horizon, or things that excite you about where racing and the sport of NASCAR might be going?
I think if you look at our schedule this year, I believe there's 7 new venues on the schedules, really continuing to push ourselves to do new things and to not be afraid of doing those new things and trying things, going to markets that we haven't been to. This past weekend, we went to Road America with the Cup Series for the first time. I had the opportunity to be there, my home state of Wisconsin, and that was just a tremendous experience to be part of that and to see the excitement of the locals there in Wisconsin to have that Cup Series there. And then again, I think we're going to continue to move things forward, and we have a very welcoming environment at our racetracks, and I think fans are going to see that more and more. We're seeing more families coming out to the tracks. So for me, again, there's so many things on the horizon that we have that we can do, and that we can execute, not just here at Phoenix, but across all of our tracks.
Yeah, that's excellent. Julie, and you've been around racetracks for 20 years now. Has there been an experience that stands out, or someone that you've met that stands out? What's kind of like a highlight for you over those years?
It's such a great question, and one that is so hard to answer because I've been able to be part of so many amazing events, meet so many amazing people. I think there's a few different things. The first time that I drove to Watkins Glen as an employee and pulled into the parking lot, it was very surreal. Like, wow, I am actually like working and racing. That was a big moment for me. I think one of the things that I'm most proud of, there were 2 big events when I was at Daytona, the 60th anniversary of the Rolex 24 and the 50th anniversary of the Daytona 500. And I had the opportunity to be part of both of those events, and both were incredibly special, very momentous. And having the Thunderbirds fly over for the first time that year for the Daytona 500 in 2008. And now you look at that relationship that's been built between Daytona and the Thunderbirds. You can't have one without the other. So it's fun to see a lot of the things that we worked on at Daytona continue. And so it's hard. There's so many different things that I could point to. But again, I feel incredibly blessed to be part of so many different great moments over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to just, being tough to take that many years of experiences and boil it down to 1 or 2 that stand out, but I appreciate you giving an effort there.
No problem.
And Julie, again, I don't think I've got too many other questions for you, so I really appreciate your time, joining us this morning and being willing to talk to us. And I thank you for doing that.
No, most definitely appreciate the opportunity.